Lord knows I'm not making it to midnight this week.
Yeah, right. I love that intro. That's cool.
All right. Welcome to our live show. It is 9:15. We're going live here. Brian Williams and Eric Buhrendorf. What's up, Eric?
How are you?
Good. So we're kicking off our show here, and I know you want to get our date and time stamp in here, so I'll leave that up to you.
Oh, yeah. So today is December 29th, 2021. And this is Finance and Technology Insights with Brian and Eric.
All right, and this is I don't know. We lost track of the show counts already, so we're doing a second show this week.
Right?
It's what?
This is episode 3.5.
Episode 3.5. Yeah, I like that. We're gonna have to botch another episode to get back on whole numbers, though. That's the problem.
So the audience knows what we're talking about. It only took us to our third episode before we did a whole episode, and we forgot to hit the record button.
We've had so many fans. We wanted to do a special show for our lip reading audience, so we wanted to do a special show for them.
Did that go out live just with no audio for the whole hour and 15 minutes?
Yes.
Well, it's a good thing we don't have an audience yet.
I know. The good thing is we it started late, so we were live, but there was like 10 minutes in before YouTube put it on. So yeah. So all right. So how was your Christmas?
Let's see. Christmas was good. The girls were spoiled rotten. Got way too many toys. Way too many toys. I think we were just doing a little cleanup around the girls' room yesterday, in fact, and there's a Barbie new in box still somewhere that we found. How about you?
Yeah, we were saying the same thing that Luke's probably still got a toy or two under the tree that's still wrapped. He was good. I mean, he opened toys, and when he opened something, he wanted to play with it. So he doesn't quite get the whole idea of opening everything up, or maybe he's got the better system. But he did at least figure out which ones were the toys, and he kind of left the books and clothes for later. So somehow he figured that out, at least for 3 years old. That's pretty good.
How old is he now? 3?
Yeah.
So he's walking, definitely, and he's talking.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. So
that's cool. A lot.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. How did Santa treat you and Lauren?
Oh, fine. I mean, we don't do too much. Everything's for him and the family and stuff. So we don't do too much of that. But a couple little things that we were kind of looking for that we wouldn't necessarily get ourselves. So we went down that route. I guess our gift to each other was we went to the movies for the first time, and I don't know. Probably since before Luke was born. So we did see SpiderMan. We saw that in the theaters on Monday. So that was pretty awesome.
How were the crowds?
Crowds were good. We had assigned seating, so we had two seats that were I think the last two that were available together. So I bought them at least 24 hours in advance. So it was pretty crowded.
Yeah, we had an opportunity. Me and my wife had a date night last night, and we thought about going, but it was like 7:00 last night. And I think there were 3 available seats left in the whole theater. And, I hate to say it, but with all the COVID business going around, we didn't want to throw caution to the wind and share that much air with, we don't mind, we're fully vaccinated, and we don't, we're not too skittish, but where it seems like an easy choice to make, we didn't want to go. So we're looking at maybe going for like a 1:00 show or something like that if the crowds start to dissipate. But I've heard it's got, I think it's box office leader right now. I mean, it's killing it in the box office.
For sure. Yeah, and I think it's got a lot in there for, I think the high school kids will like it. I think the super comic book people will enjoy it. And then I kind of put myself in the middle. I'm not a big, comic book guy or anything like that, but I do like the Spider-Man series. I was a big Tobey Maguire fan, like that whole set. So I think it's got enough kind of callbacks in there to some of the original stuff, which makes it fun for everybody.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things that they're doing in movies over the last 10 or 15 years is they've really turned, when we were kids growing up, it was very rare that movies would, or the what do they call it? The universes. It was very rare that movie series would create universes. I mean, I think even, and I'm not a big I don't like horror movies, so I don't know them intimately, but the Jason movies, I mean, for example, all those Jason movies do those necessarily create a universe across movies, or are those kind of each movie's kind of standalone to some degree? But
I have no idea.
It's that universe that they're doing with the Marvel, with the movies these days that I find interesting, because it's kind of cool to see, you have one kind of cohesive experience across all of the movies, and it's fun to see all the callbacks and the tie-ins and things like that. So just from what I've read, the Spider-Man movie tries to tie in the Tobey Maguire movies into the current Spider-Man situation. Is that
right.
true?
Yeah. I mean, we don't want to give too much away,
no spoilers, but
yeah.
In essence, I mean, I think from the public material and the trailers, I think that was pretty obvious.
Yeah. And some of the rumors that were floating around, but they definitely do enough to keep everybody involved. I think even if you had never seen a Spider-Man movie before, you'd enjoy this. It's not something where you feel like you've got to be a big fan to see it. And I think the numbers show that.
Cool.
And all the people online that are going, 4 or 5, 6 times, That's a sign of a really good show. So what are you working on business-wise? I know you're working on some stuff technology-wise. So what's going on there?
Yeah, so current projects, we just relaunched our website last week or two. Had a little bit of growing pains as we're launching that, which is typical. You always work, bang the clay until you think you're ready to fire it. And there's always something that you could do better. So we launched a couple weeks ago, and just making tweaks and improvements. I'm relaunching, or I've relaunched my blog, and have started taking that. It was always serious, but I've designed my workflow personally so that I can really start contributing to the blog, which I'm looking forward to. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going on with me. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, this week is sort of a big sort of technology week for me. So I like to go through all the platforms that I use for different softwares, and it just changes so much, and everything is so much subscription based. You're paying $5, $10, $15 for this here, this there. So what can you cancel? What's overlap? What's duplication? What sort of enhancements are the software? What have they brought to the table that maybe you're not using that could enhance your client experience? So this is a good week to kind of catch up all that. And some of the stuff will have the annual discounts, or they'll have some promotions and stuff they're running this time of year. So sometimes it's good to circle back on that. So that's what I'm doing a lot of this week. Client meetings are a little bit low, but you're doing a lot of required minimum distributions and all that kind of stuff that people are trying to clean out by the end of the year. So just try to stay locked into the phones and the emails. Make sure you get back to people on time, and then fill in with the tech stuff when I get a chance.
Cool. So you're canceling Hulu, and you're renewing Netflix, and
the opposite actually.
That's funny. I'm pretty much swamped. I'm pretty much completely inundated by subscriptions at this point. It's interesting. And that's what you're talking about, right? Kind of those digital subscriptions and things of that nature. Yeah. I mean, I've got them across our business. I've got them across our personal. You subscribe to Hulu through Apple, subscribe to Paramount through Amazon. It's hard to keep track of them all. Pretty sure I'm paying more than a traditional cable bill these days, but at least the content's a little bit more personalized. But so that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, with all the binge watching stuff, you almost don't have to have all those subscriptions year round. You can like get one for 3 months and binge the shows and catch up on all of those, and then switch to another one. So we're back.
So true.
Yeah,
in fact, I only subscribe to the NFL Game Pass app for the season, and then I don't really look at it from February to August. I'm kind of a fair weather fan when it comes to football. I don't have my honorary starter jacket in the closet. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And you don't
remember those jackets, those big ridiculous jackets.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
We all had one of those, I think, at one point.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And they were like, and you think of all the teams that were like hot around the same time, like all those like the Charlotte Hornets and like all those like Teal and like those weird like sort of new age teams that came around about that time.
Oh yeah. So let's see, we're an end of the year show. We're a finance and technology show. You know how much I love end of year shows and prediction shows. I can't stand it. But should we just go along with cliche, and should we wrap up the year and or offer some predictions of next year? What do you think?
Yeah, we did. We kind of talked about that a little bit last week, and we can sort of expand on that and get into that. You had talked about your website and how you're trying to clean up the process, and I thought that was interesting. From an onboarding perspective, right? So that's something you're really trying to streamline for next year, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. One thing that that's exactly right. One thing I'm working on aggressively is basically, using the website as a sales tool and an onboarding tool. So, we used to use our website as an information tool, but now we're really using it as a sales tool. So we're helping, and I know it might seem obvious, but we're using the website to really kind of catch any prospective clients. Like, I don't know if I think I told you this earlier this week, but 90% of our traffic to our website are non-clients, non-customers. So I mean, that's pretty telling. So that's part of the relaunch strategy, was to really shape the website and build the website intended for non-customers. We have a couple links like our client portal and things, so our current customers can go and get the information they need too. But so we're basically looking at this saying, okay, well, 90% of traffic to our website are non-customers. What do we want to do? Well, it's obvious. We want to kind of inform, we want to kind of engage, inform, and then capture and convert. So one of those processes really just, one thing that we're doing that our competition doesn't do is, our contract rates are right on our website. Our pricing is right on the website. The billing and the fees are really transparent. And then what I've done is I've built a kind of an intake. It's a hybrid intake form / contract wizard. So basically, we can take in our new clients, take in the information that we need, their name, email address, phone number, also their company name, information, address, and phone number. And then we ask them, okay, here's our pricing, here are our support options, here's our products and services. Which ones do you want? They select what they want. All pricing's transparent there. And then when they click submit, they basically onboard themselves into our system. And that's I think it's pretty revolutionary. I think it's going to be a competitive advantage for us. I'm really excited about it. I'm excited about new clients starting to use it. We have a couple clients who are prospective clients in the pipeline right now that I anticipate will be using it within the next week or so. So that's pretty exciting for me. Whenever I see it, we advise our clients to use these systems as well for their business. It's one of the things that we do for them, but I'm always not always amazed. I don't know. I just I'll give you an example. I tried to. We don't own the EVERNET.com domain, and we do own the trademark though. and some cyber squatters sitting on EVERNET.com. And so I reached out to an IP lawyer a couple weeks ago to just engage an attorney for a few billable hours, to see, what options we had to maybe assert our trademark rights and buy, I don't want to steal anything from anybody. We want to offer a fair value for the domain and have it passed over to us. So I reached out to an IP lawyer, and she said, yeah, her intake call was, no promises, but we can explore this and see what our options are. I said, great. Can I hire you for a couple hours? She said, sure. She's like, I'll send you the intake form. She emails me a Word document to collect my information. And Microsoft Word is a word processor. It's effectively a typewriter. It was not intended to produce forms to receive and collect information. You're better off using Excel if you're going to do that, it's clumsy for somebody to use a Word document as an intake form, both on the kind of vendor side and the customer side, because once, if I turn that in, if I print it and kind of like write on it and fax it back, you still have to do manual data entry. And then again, on my side, if I have to print it and manually write it in and fax it back, it's clumsy, So, I ended up not engaging this attorney because of that. That was kind of hit one. The second hit was I actually did turn back the intake form to her, and then she reviewed it and then came back to me and said, okay, and here's the retainer agreement. We need the retainer money. And then I said, okay, I looked at this in an email. Again, sign in return, and then I have to give her some money, and no payment information on the retainer contractor document. There was no information on how to remit on this retainer. So I went to the firm's website, and it's a pretty sizable firm with offices in New York City, Boston, and Hartford, and went to their website, and there was not even an online billing portal. So that was like strike 2 and 3. So I ended up just kind of not engaging her for her services, simply because it was too hard to become a customer, to become a client. So long story short, that's what we're implementing for our business. And we've had a client intake form for years, but to take that other piece, to take that a step further and really facilitate the client's onboarding, pretty excited about it.
Yeah, and that's interesting, because that's a way that you can, in working with a client, you can say, well, this is what works. I hope none of my clients that I'm working with have either that bad experience with me, or that them as clients of mine have it with their clients, So, but
yeah. How do you take in new client information like that? Are you clipboard and pen kind of guy, and then you get home? I mean, you probably have a lot of personal intake meetings, right? Kind of face to face.
Yeah, so it's a couple different. Well, I guess maybe 3 different, if I were to sort of map it out. So you're doing a lot of in-person meetings still. Maybe at a neutral site, a library, coffee shop, or at their house. Right. Sometimes people are more comfortable with that, and they've got, they may have documents at their house or whatever. So usually it's easier to meet there. I have found that most people are more comfortable if you're taking notes in a traditional sense, just on a notepad, rather than entering something. And I always carry my Surface with me, and I've tried to write in there, use OneNote or whatever. But I think clients, I don't know, they feel a little weird that you're like entering stuff in a computer system about them, especially if they're not clients yet, if they're just prospects that you're taking notes on. So
yeah. I don't disagree with that. I mean, that when you're human to human, you really do have to support that human experience. So that makes sense. Yeah. Before that meeting, though, do you send any sort of preliminary intake?
It depends on the client. If I get a feeling that they're like they want to push the process, or sometimes they'll ask, hey, what do you want us to send you? Then I can send them that. I really prefer that first meeting just to be kind of a get to know you kind of thing, because it's as much a personality connection. I got to make sure it's somebody I want to work with, and same thing with them as well. So So I feel like it's, you know, traditionally like that first meeting advisors, it was called the data gathering session, you know, and this is, you know, you send them a checklist and have all these documents available. But, you know, if it gets to that point where you're talking documents and you want to get statements, but, I usually try not to ask too much for in advance.
If you were one of my clients, I would say before you agree to meeting in person, I would send some electronic form of, I'll give you, for instance, have you ever heard of like a booking service called Calendly?
Yes, I use that. I have that on my website.
Okay, cool. So if you make some digital connection with your lead or your prospective client, and at least you get a name, phone, and email address, you can kind of start a file for them. So that, I mean, presumably, all the prospective customers you would want may not choose you, but maybe because they're not yet ready in their decision making process, or they haven't yet received the key information from you that has helped them to choose you. You know what I mean? So if you, before meeting with them, um, and I think on the first version of the show we talked about onboarding fees and things of that nature. But at least in that same vein, if you say, okay, well, I'm happy to drive out to meet you, but the cost of that at minimum is your name and email address and phone number, so I can at least follow up with you and maybe start that kind of CRM file. Do you know what I mean? For sure, for sure. Skin in the game, yeah. Yeah, on the first version of this show, I got all holier than thou about onboarding fees. I don't know. It's funny that I have a second chance at discussing this. I feel much more. This is now our fourth show, and I'm obviously feeling a bit more comfortable in the process. So I don't know if I'll go on to the rant about onboarding fees. But in short, we're a service provider, business to business service provider. Most of our clients are professional service providers themselves, doctors, lawyers, accounting, financial professionals, things of that nature. um, and yeah, we started charging an onboarding fee. We call it an onboarding fee. It's a a new client fee. um, I think 2 or 3 years ago. At first, it was a modest $250 fee, and I just increased it about 6 months ago to $500 to become a new client. And part of that fee, the revenue position that we have with our clients, because our relationships are so long. We revenue significantly more than $500 over the life of the relationship. um, we have clients that we've onboarded when I first started the company 17 years ago. So $500 is just a drop in the bucket. So, but I realized a couple of years ago that there really are good clients and bad clients. And the good clients, you want to give them all of your focus, all of your attention. They're highly engaged with you. They see value in your service. They're happy and thankful that you're there for them, protecting their business. The bad clients are the opposite of that. They take advantage of your time. They don't value your time. They're kind of hold they hold animus towards the services that we provide. A lot of people, these bad clients that I'm describing, they have computers they're running their business on, but they almost like resent them. They resent that they have to maintain these systems and secure the systems. And I don't know about you, but I look at the computers in front of us, and I love them because of the capital that they bring a business, which basically means more money, more revenue, more profit. But yeah, not everybody looks at their computer systems and their technology tools that way. And we made a decision a couple of years ago to say, well, how can we filter out the bad clients, so to speak? And I just said, well, let's see what an onboarding fee is. If we stop them at the gate and we just say, if you don't see the value in our time, kind of in a preliminary and because it takes time to onboard a new client administratively, non-billable administrative time. So if they don't value your time, they won't really value your time in the sense that, yeah, it takes a couple hours to sales meetings and intake meetings, and then of course there's pushing paper on our side just to set up the account administratively. So if they don't value your time, they're not going to value that. So yeah, the onboarding fee for us was incredibly successful in kind of curating a better client that appreciates our service. So I'm on a tangent, but yeah, onboarding fee. Not, it's no, I don't think age has a factor on that. My wife is a perfect example. She's younger than me by a couple of years, and she is she uses technology because she's a technology native, and she's married to a technologist, and it's all around us and blah blah. But she just couldn't care less about the technology. She doesn't know any of her passwords. She doesn't know what a password manager is. She logs into something on her phone or on her desktop, it prompts her to save her password. She just clicks save. She just couldn't care less. And that kind of technology, I don't want to say ineptitude, because I think that's a negative connotation, but just the technology disinterest that happens kind of across the whole gamut. And then the opposite, I've had some lots of clients that are of the baby boomer generation that are really technology interested. So anyways, I don't think age kind of has a bearing on kind of technology interest or engagement. I think you get it across all spectrums. For a while there, 10 years ago, I was like, oh man, once all business leaders become technology natives, I thought maybe we would kind of go by the wayside, our whole industry. But the reality is that we are a resource to delegate to. So even though your dentist or your lawyer or your insurance agent or what have you is a technology native and can set up their email and can set up their internet and things like that, if they're running a highly productive business, which is most of our clients, you don't do everything you can do. I mean, even if you think of that in the context of like running your house, I mean, I could probably do a lot more home repairs around the house than I choose to do, simply because the limited resource is time. So how much time do you spend working on the house, working on your business, working, spending time with your family, so it's time divided. So, fortunately, even though more and more people are becoming digital natives, we're still a required resource, because if you're running a highly productive and kind of high functioning business, you still need resources to delegate to. I mean, I don't do my own bookkeeping, for example. I can do it, but I don't,
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, another tangent number 2 for the day.
No, I think that's a good one. But we get that. The parallel, I guess, in our business is there's a few more DIYers, or there's more do-it-yourselfers, where they can handle a lot of the basic stuff, which is probably the same for you as well. It's good to have somebody on site who can handle some of the stuff. And then what's more exciting for you guys and your team is to do the more advanced stuff, right? You don't want to be driving out somewhere to plug it back checking a monitor that got loose or something, you know?
Well, I mean, it's also the time value of money, you know? So, you know, do you want your dentist, you know, like if you're running a dental practice, for example, we have a large market. We have a large client base of dental practices, for example. And, you know, if you're running a business, you're not like climbing under the desk changing out your computer. You should delegate that, because your time, you know, a practice owner of a dental practice, his or her time is more valued running the business and delegating the function, you know. It's usually the solos, and I've been there too, and in a lot of ways I'm still there. You know, I'm running and managing our own marketing and sales and things of that nature. But yeah, I mean, the smaller the business, you wear more hats, right? That's classic. That's just classic business ownership. So yeah, we're not relegated useless, you know, because everybody's born with technology. That's, I think, the takeaway.
Right.
Because, you know, the larger companies, you just need to delegate resources. So and that was good news, but 10 years ago I was like, ooh, you know, if these systems become too easy and they're all web based and, you know, whatever, but you still need somebody to worry about them, secure them, configure them, manage them. And then of course, when you grow your business, you're adding new users, so you need you know, the CEO of a big dental practice or multi-location dental practice shouldn't be adding new staff to their various computer systems. You know, it's just, I don't even think that's HIPAA compliant, but you know, it's just from a business administration standpoint, you know.
Yeah. So one of the topics we talked about Monday in our special show for lip readers, the everybody on Facebook looked like where they were getting Oculus or some other virtual device. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if Facebook reports like the number of units sold or anything like that, but it'll be interesting to see if that adoption rate picks up. I know we've probably talked about the metaverse in all our episodes, so I'll be curious to see if this accelerates a little bit into the new year.
So you saw my post on Facebook right after Christmas. I said,
yeah.
Did everybody get an Oculus this year? An Oculus, by the way, for the non-technically inclined, is a virtual headset reality made by Facebook, or now the company formerly called Facebook, which is now Meta. And Brian's talking about the metaverse, of course. But I swear, I'm rolling through Facebook, and I swear, like, just so many people unboxed Oculuses this year at Christmas. And so I post on Facebook, you know, oh my God, did everybody get Oculus this year? And then I think that was Sunday. When the market opens on Monday, there was some report. I didn't flag it on our Flipboard channel, I don't think, but the market would respond somehow. Some analyst or some metric was uncovered, and Facebook or Meta's stock price had a big, I think, like a 14% bump for the day.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was all over Facebook, and all sorts of video fails of people running into stuff and
Right.
falling off balance beams and all that kind of stuff. But so it's funny. There's a Facebook group. It's I forget what it's called. It's Oculus for those folks 40 and older or something like that. So it's like yeah. So it's kind of funny because you get some, you know, you get like some 60-year-olds in there or whatever who want to do something like to connect their, you know, kids or grandkids or whatever. Or maybe it's out of necessity, I guess, to, you know, if they can't be together in person, they're just looking for different solutions or fun ways to connect. But
So
but that's an interesting group.
do you have an Oculus?
I don't.
I picked one up. The Oculus Quest 2 is the latest and greatest. I get, you know, it's not the greatest, I guess, from a spec standpoint, but it's the latest from Facebook. Anyways, I got it when it came out, just after it came out. I think it came out in October of 2020. I got it somewhere maybe February, March, April, sometime this year. I think. And I got it because I kind of had this idea. I'm like, you know, the kids were still not back at school full time. They were still struggling, I think, with the hybrid and the remote, or they were fully remote. And it occurred to me, I was like, wow, you know, the kids were struggling with trying to be in a classroom environment on their laptop or their Chromebooks. and it was just it was a horrible experience. And I thought to myself, if we had an Oculus headset and we gave the classroom a 360 camera, and I was like, I went through it all in my head. I'm like, I'm gonna test it, and I'll bring it to the school and see if they'll try this early adoption. But I was like, thinking that we could put a 360 camera in the classroom, the teacher could be in the classroom giving instruction, and the kids could connect with the VR headset, because there is a 360 YouTube thing where you're in the Oculus headset, and of course it's head tracking, and you're watching a YouTube video that you're effectively in real time. And sadly, that didn't go anywhere, but it's obvious to see that's where it's going. We'll be able to attend concerts and trade shows and all sorts of kind of public mass functions, maybe even a movie.
Mm-hmm.
You could be in a virtual movie theater. In fact, I think they have a virtual movie theater app where you can feel like you're sitting and looking around chairs around you and things.
Right, right. And they may have immersive videos where you're still in a theater setting, but the movie is still playing. Essentially, you're like in that world, so to speak.
Yeah.
Come up with some sort of creative, solutions like that. I remember, I think the NBA is usually pretty good on all of this stuff with, they're doing NFTs with their Top Shot program and all that sort of stuff. But they've had for a while now the virtual games where you can essentially get courtside seats.
Oh, nice.
And move with the action and stuff
just what
like
I'm
that.
describing, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So on the TV, obviously when you're watching it, you're looking at whatever camera view they give you. But if the action's at one end of the court and you turn your head to the opposite end, you can look at the court with nothing going on, or look at something, the coach's reaction on that sideline or whatever. So that is a pretty immersive experience. And I think you can even, on a lot of those, turn around and just look at the fans or look back up into the crowd. So yeah, I mean that stuff's here. It's very much a now thing.
I think the Oculus Quest 2 from Facebook might have been so popular because it's the first standalone VR headset that's kind of small enough to feel like it's approachable for everybody, which is kind of exciting because the old VR headsets, you needed to be plugged into a computer. You had a cord coming from your head and going to a computer. They're big and bulky and heavy. And this one, the Oculus 2, is still pretty bulky, but if this is where it is today, you can imagine another 10 years, these things will really continue to downsize and get smaller. I mean, even Apple is rumored to be working on a VR, AR, augmented reality pair of glasses that you just wear all day, and like an Apple Watch pairs with your phone, and with heads up displays and reading real time information. So it's definitely going that way.
Yeah, I was one of the early adopters to the ones where you put your cell phone inside, and you
Oh,
you
the Google
connected it that
Cardboard,
way.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that was not a bad experience. You had to download the app, then you plugged your phone in, and the downside there was obviously you're a slave to the battery life of your phone.
Right.
So if that's a full on experience with your phone, I mean that's going to drain a lot of resources from your phone. But yeah, I mean, the idea of a standalone sort of piece that, and with all this stuff, it feels like early on one of the key limitations is going to be the battery life. Whether it's a car or a phone or Oculus. I mean,
Battery and bulk, right? I mean, even the early
yeah.
car phones. I don't know. Did you have a car phone in the '90s that was like a
No,
suitcase?
no,
My friend,
no, I didn't.
my friend did. His mom had one in the car. I remember it was like a suitcase with like a leather strap, and it was, yeah. But bulk and battery is always kind of the limiting factor when it comes to tech, and it always gets smaller and faster, which is cool. So with that
Right.
leads us. Should we do any predictions? Do you have any predictions on 2022, on whether business trends or finance trends or technology trends?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, last time we talked a little bit about, potentially the breakup of some of these big organizations.
Mm.
I think that could be a trend. Yeah, I think I don't know if you've got something you can go ahead. I got a couple things, but I'm working through them in my head.
Well, I mean, you alluded to the breakup of big tech is
Hmm.
the buzzy keyword. So they're
Yeah.
the liberal left governments, both the U.S. and Europe, they're they're beating the drum that quote unquote big tech is too big, and there's talk of breaking up Facebook, which owns Instagram, WhatsApp, and they think that those companies should be broken up and run independently of each other, and because it's unfair to market competition, and maybe they're harvesting too much information on all of us. you know I, I I'm a free market capitalist. I think it's whenever you try to break up big companies, all they do is they reconsolidate just in another 20 or 50 years. That's what the phone companies did. Ma Bell in the mid 1900s consolidated and was this behemoth, and then I think in the 70s or something they broke them up. They forced it to break up, and then all these little phone companies took their little kingdoms all over the country and stuff. But they just coalesced around, and we call them Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile now. And it was T-Mobile and Sprint, but Sprint and T-Mobile just merged. So anyways, I think these breakup tactics of breaking up a company is more political maneuvering, and political ideological feel good for people. It's bizarre, because companies in fact break up on their own. They choose
Hmm.
to downsize, and they choose to separate from some of their sectors and divisions, so that they can have kind of unencumbered focus. One of them, for example, is a password manager that we like and recommend our clients get, called LastPass. It's not even a plug, it's just a product. It was bought up. LastPass was an independent company. It got bought up by this company called LogMeIn, which sells remote access tools for computer users. And LogMeIn is buying up all sorts of products in the IT space. And I just saw a notice, I think last week or two, that they are spinning LastPass back out into its own company. And so there's reasons to consolidate, and there's reasons to break up. And anytime the government tries to micromanage that, honestly, ultimately they do it in the name of consumer protection. But I think in general, it just adds to cost and governance and complexity, and it's whatever. So that's that's interesting you said that. Big tech breakup. So that's one prediction. Will Facebook be broken up? Will Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp be broken up? I don't know. What else?
Yeah, and Amazon, but in
Amazon,
AWS is
right, right.
is that's one they always talk about, or even Google and YouTube, or something like that.
Microsoft. They
So
talk about Microsoft too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, any of the stuff where you can split, hardware and software or something like that, kind of feels like an easy way to go for the layman. They can sort of, it's like, well, why don't they, spin off Xbox into a separate division or something like that.
But if you,
Um,
I mean, look at GE for example. Do you know anything about GE?
yeah, sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
GE is a massive, massive conglomerate. Massive. There's no call to break them up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. And I mean, they're not even that big anymore, but they've sold off all the good pieces. But yeah, at one time, certainly there was. Yeah.
So all this call to break up businesses, you know what I mean? It's like it's just
Hmm.
political maneuvering. It's all showmanship. I mean, it's all in the name of this and in the name of that. But it's like, you know what? There's actually a fiscal imperative that for even massive companies to continue being good, because so long as there's a free and fair market, unencumbered by regulation,
Hmm.
um, a startup can come up and disrupt a market or an industry. um, Look at Tesla.
Hmm.
Tesla completely is upending the auto industry, in spite of anti-competitive regulation.
Hmm.
It's in many states, 17 states, and it was more and more and more states are walking this regulation back. But in many states, it was illegal for an auto manufacturer to sell their cars direct to consumers. Imagine Ford produces a car, comes off the assembly line. They couldn't sell it directly to you. They had to sell to the consumer through a dealer network. And believe it or not, I mean, when I read this and kind of discovered this, because none of us really thought about it necessarily over the last 50 years. You just went to a dealer for new or used, and you went to a used for used, right? But yeah, it's actually illegal in many states for Tesla to sell direct to us their cars, and that's anti-competitive legislation or legislation for the consumer market. Of course, it's all in the name of, when cars were first manufactured, they didn't have service centers and support, the service network to support these really expensive purchases. So, I mean, I get kind of why it passed, because, it was in the name of consumer protection, but it was kind of anti-competitive, because if you were a new car startup, you needed that. You couldn't sell your cars direct to consumer. And there was a car in the mid-century, a startup called Tucker, and there was a movie that was made about it. It was pretty good, and I wonder if that was why he ultimately failed, because of that. But anyways, Tesla, startup disrupting a well-established industry.
Yeah, and the car industry is a good example, right? I mean, you had the big three for so long, and it was, a question of do the big three stifle innovation, stifle competition? But then eventually it was the foreign automakers that rolled in, right? So, your Volkswagens, your Toyotas, your Hondas, that's what was ultimately the disruptor. It didn't come from inside the U.S. And that was, the automobile industry is one that consolidated big time. I mean, obviously the first half of 1900s, but and you think about all the different brands they would have underneath them, right? I mean, Plymouth and Dodge and Chrysler were all, still a lot of times making the exact same vehicle and slapping different emblems on the back, just to keep the loyalty to those brands. But I mean, that is a perfect example.
Just proves my point. It's just that you don't need necessarily the regulations to try to create a competitive market. You just need the landscape so that anybody can come up, make a better product, and sell it. So I mean, Microsoft sat on their laurels when they put Netscape out of business when they bundled Internet Explorer with Windows 95. They enjoyed that for 5 or 10 years until Internet Explorer just became such a laggard web browser, and Firefox, a free and independent product, came up, and just all of a sudden Firefox was on everybody's desktop in the mid to late aughts, and now, so anyways, it's just kind of like governments need to just kind of support the law of contracts and just kind of get out of the way, give or take. So protect the environment, don't let these companies destroy our environment. And other than that, speaking of environment, I one thing I'm thinking of lately is, I don't know, there's this all, we're all environmentally conscious now, and we're all about cleaning up the seas and things, but what still strikes me is why the masses kind of aren't yet emotionally angry at the millions of plastic bottles, for example, that are being produced by like Pepsi and Coke and things like that. It's all like let's get out there and clean up the oceans, but we're still buying our Dasani and our Fuji water or whatever. And I don't know, I wonder and hope if eventually the masses will kind of look at the source of the problem, and start kind of becoming emotional about like not feeling fond of these companies that are polluting like that.
Yeah, well, I've always said that. I mean, there's too much focus on the idea of recycling, but if you're really true to the environment, the idea is to not create it in the first place, right? It's not to make all these plastic bottles and then recycle them. It's just to use reusable bottles in the first place and not go down that path. But I thought of something when we were talking about competitive nature and stuff. So we usually think about that from a product perspective and innovation, but how about from an employee standpoint now? So there's these big, Silicon Valley wars between Apple and Facebook, and they're trading employees back and forth. But you could look at the idea of breaking up some of these companies as an opportunity for employees. If you're a high-level tech person at this point, I mean, you obviously have the ability to start your own company if you wanted to, but I mean, you're really only looking at three or four big players, right, in that space. So I think that's something too that if you want to play a little bit devil's advocate to the free market system, is that you're sort of limiting potential movement among these high level employees. I was just reading the article between Facebook and Apple about them. Apple came out with a big bonus program this year just because they've lost so many employees to Facebook. So they were giving out like, somewhere between $50 and $180,000 bonuses to some of their top tech people just because they had, Facebook basically came in there and was just writing blank checks to people to get people to come over. And you think about all the trade secrets and stuff that go with people. I mean, obviously you sign non-disclosures and all that kind of stuff, but still, I mean, you can't erase what's in your brain already, right? So you think about the information flowing back and forth, but something else to think about.
I mean, I don't know if I don't agree with that argument. I think the world is filled with viable work and viable technologies, and if Apple bought Facebook and Facebook bought Microsoft and they become one, if Silicon Valley just became one company, again, as long as people are allowed to move around the country and move around the world and participate in free and open commerce, and they can start their own companies, or they can go, there's European companies, there's Asian companies, so I think I don't want to spar with you over it or step on your toes, but respectfully, I think that it's kind of those false narratives that give the argument, or it gives wind in the sails of, I think, troublesome legislation that I think is in good spirit. We want a competitive market, but I think a competitive market is naturally occurring. Time and time again, we see that there's laws that exist, like these dealership laws. Like you can see that why you would maybe say, okay, you can't sell a car unless you have a dealer network, because this is a significant purchase for a household, and if they make this purchase and they can't get this purchase supported, they might bankrupt their household with a purchase of a car. You imagine this maybe in the 20s or the 30s or something. I mean, even now to a lot of households, a car purchase is significant to them. But again, when you say it in the name of consumer protection, it's easy to justify some acts, but I think sometimes it's doesn't always it's not functionally productive inside.
Right. And in the case of employees, I mean, it becomes an issue, not necessarily an issue now, because it is a competitive situation, right? I mean, it's a good thing that they're competing over employees, or, and one's got to give huge bonuses to keep them away from the other. That's a good thing. But if it ever got to the point where there was some sort of collusion and they were banding together and said, "Hey,"
they already proved that was
right,
happening.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's certainly going the other way, but just bringing up different sides of a potential issue down the road.
I can appreciate that, and and just edit out all of this political talk just so I don't alienate myself.
Yeah. I don't think it's necessarily a political discussion, because you've heard people on the right talk about breaking up Facebook because they're limiting free speech, because they're going down the path of trying to monitor misinformation, which could come from both sides.
Right. True point.
And nobody likes to be monitored. So you're seeing that as more of kind of a penalty, or like they're infringing on our right for free speech, but
right. So, that's the problem with the left and the right, is that's the problem with not being a principled individual, or having a political ideology rooted in principles, because the right, perfect example, the right wants to shut down or break up Facebook because they won't let their spokesman on their network, and the left wants to break them up because the left has co-opted somehow this neo hippie movement where, money and capitalism is evil. So, um, yeah, it's, everybody just needs to calm down and just get out of the way and just let the system do what it does naturally. People are going to, companies are going to rise because they make better products, or they're, they've enjoyed some, competitive advantage for some period of time. When they become complacent, a replacement will come up and rise and do the same thing. Facebook did it to MySpace. Um, Microsoft, Tesla did it to the auto industry. I mean, it just happens over and over and over again, and it's just part of what a free market and economy does.
Right. Yep.
I
So we're
just saw.
coming up on the. Yeah, go ahead.
No, we're running long, aren't we?
No, I mean just coming up on the hour mark.
On the hour mark.
All
right.
We're about 55 minutes, so
I was just about to go into solar versus coal power. So I don't think we have the time for that. But
no, not likely.
No.
Well, let's wrap up. Spend a couple minutes about. So we started this right just after Thanksgiving, right? So we're going into the new year. We're doing live here. We're fixing audio and video issues and getting some transition here. So I think we had said about 10 shows it'll probably take us to nail everything down. So the fact that we're about 4 or so in, I think we're on track, or at least ahead of schedule, I think.
I'm feeling good. I've been wanting to launch this channel with a partner for years, and I've solicited a number of partners, and it's hard to find somebody who will put themselves out there and kind of participate in the video internet ecosystem. So honestly, I've come to enjoy you as a friend, and I'm really enjoying co-hosting the show with you. And I think it's completely serendipitous that it was like a dart in the dark. I sent you a message on LinkedIn a few weeks ago, and I said, hey, this is what I want to do. I saw your YouTube channel. You've got great content that you're putting out on your own channels and projects. And hey, I'm just so glad that you seem to be enjoying me, and you seem to be enjoying this channel. And I'm looking forward to 52 shows, hopefully 53 if you allot one for error or two.
Yeah.
Hopefully we won't forget to hit the record button on too many more, but yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I think that's good. You learned something new. Hopefully we can, our enhancements are not, they're sort of for us, right? Because we're technology and finance people, so it's fun to look back at episode 10 to 1, and just from a technological standpoint, I think it'll be kind of fun. But they're ultimately made for people who view us and listen to us, right? I mean, that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah,
deliver some entertainment.
Yeah, perfect point. So I don't think we led into the show as to what we are and who we are, right? So yeah, I mean, we have our Flipboard channel. We don't have a custom URL, so find the link in the channel notes. But Flipboard is a news aggregator that we use. We have a magazine for our, that it pairs with this YouTube channel that we're doing, and it allows us to pin news articles that we think are interesting, and it's a basis of content that we can talk about. But basically, the show, I think you and I you come from the kind of 401k world. I come from the technology world. We're both business to business service providers in our respective companies. So yeah, we're just coming here to talk tech and finance and basically anything we want. And hopefully you enjoy our character, and hopefully you enjoy the themes that we're talking about. And I don't expect any viewers or subscribers, but if it goes that way, that'll be fun. The least, the worst case scenario for me is, I get to hang out with my buddy once a week talking about the stuff I like to talk about. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And this is going to be a constant state of iteration. I mean, do we have the brick background this week, for example?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. It's kind of rolling in there.
Will that be what it is in 10 shows from now?
Yeah,
who knows? We do have a podcast. You are stripping the audio out of this, and we are publishing it to your favorite podcast network. And I got to tell you, I think I have a I think I have a better voice for podcasting than I have a face for YouTubing. So if you can't stand what you see here, just download the podcast and pick us up on your drive to work or wherever you're going.
Yeah, I was surprised to learn a year ago how many people, listen to things through YouTube. So people that don't know, if you have YouTube Premium, you can actually download,
True.
playlists and things like that, and listen to them when you're out for a walk. Like you would a podcast and things like that. So there is a lot of people who put the stuff on in the background, and they use YouTube almost as a podcaster or an audio only type platform. They'll have it on a second or third or sixth monitor like Eric, and they'll listen to this stuff instead of watching it. So
he's teasing me,
so
everybody,
I think that's
because
good.
I have 6 monitors on my desk right now.
What he doesn't know is I have 7, but I'm never going to tell him.
Do you
that,
really?
No, I don't. No.
That's
but,
awesome. I would
but
talk
yeah.
to you all day, my friend, but I know that there's, we're not going to do the Joe Rogan here, the 4-hour podcast.
No.
So,
I think I mean the biggest thing I'm looking forward to in the new year is to get all the platform and the tech stuff out of the way, which I think we're pretty much almost there yet. We'll see how this one comes out, and but I'd like to get some more interaction as we stream live. If we can get some comments and questions and sort of address that stuff, I think that would be fun. Get people involved in the Flipboard and the Facebook group that we have too. I was thinking, I wonder if there's a way to sort of sync the Facebook group with Flipboard. So if we flip something into Flipboard, it would automatically the article get posted as Facebook group or something, or even vice versa. That'd be kind of interesting. I wonder if you could create a Zapier or something like that where you could do that.
Oh, right. Yeah, use a Zapier too. If we pin an article to the magazine, it'll syndicate to the group.
Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting, or into a, I don't know, Twitter feed or whatever or something, or even YouTube. I think we got to get to a certain number of subscribers, but they almost have like a community tab where you can almost use that as a news feed. So have that on my other channel.
We're going to build a company around this. I imagine we'll have a website, we'll have a Twitter account, we'll have we'll have a dedicated company social accounts, and I use Zoho Social. That allows us to syndicate all of our content across all the channels kind of all at once. So we could do it with Zapier for sure, but yeah, we'll develop that for sure as we get rolling. So yeah, we're gonna wrap, I guess, but since it's our channel and our show, do you want to do the shameless plug? You want to tell anybody where to find you if they're looking for 401k help or? Yeah.
So Brian Williams from Northshire Consulting, which is a independent investment advisory firm. So we work, sort of split between working with small businesses on the 401k side and individuals and family on the wealth management, investment, and financial planning world there. So that's our business. I've been doing it for about 20 years, but started my own firm about 3 years ago.
Talking about.
Yeah, I can at least fake it. I don't have to be an expert. I just have to know more than they do. So
where do you want people interested in your services to go?
Yeah, NorthshireConsulting.com is the main website, and the Calendly link is there where they can schedule a one-on-one consultation with a $1,000 fee. No, just kidding. But
Brian does not charge an onboarding fee, right, Brian?
No onboarding fee. Well, some of the 401ks I have, just because, it gets complicated. But if you're getting paid on assets and it's a brand new plan, it's going to take a while before there's any assets to get paid on. So in that essence, I have. But I do have my own Facebook group and YouTube channel, which are 401k and beyond. So I started those in April. So I kind of get how to grow these things and the rhythm and the cadence of it. So my goal was to have 1,000 people in the group and 1,000 subscribers in a year.
You nailed
that.
About
I guess 9 months in, and got about 1,100 people, YouTube subscribers, about 1,600 people in the group. So
that's awesome.
So it's just about connecting with people in different platforms and in different ways. So it'll be good when you get more groups, networking things, and to get both of these things sort of working at once, right? To be able to be in a group of 20 people at a business association of some sort or whatever, and relate, you're here on this kind of stuff. You're talking about subscriber to, your relaying people back and forth through social media platforms. There isn't necessarily that crossover between the people you know in person versus, you know, your social media followers or whatever. So, you know, you picture this show a couple years out, maybe at some point we do some sort of get together or something where you, you know, maybe you got,
stuff.
do a live show somewhere from
live shows. Yeah, that's fun. I love watching the YouTubers when they go out there and when they were doing live
yeah,
shows. For sure.
yeah, that's, or maybe it's, you know, something sort of half jokingly, but maybe it's something in the metaverse where people meet us in you know, a Horizon room or something. You know, it's very I mean, it's very I guess in theory we could do it tomorrow if we wanted to.
By the time we have enough subscribers, the metaverse will be ubiquitous.
For sure. Yeah, we can meet in Paris Hilton's Paris World and Roblox. I was reading about that this morning. So.
Is she on Roblox like that?
Yeah, I actually downloaded
Roblox. My daughters are on Roblox.
Yeah, so she's got her. It's called Paris World, and I was actually in there this morning. I was just curious. I wanted to see what it was. There's like an amusement park, and I went a couple trips on the Ferris wheel just so I could look around and see what else was going on in there.
Are there people in there?
Yeah. Somebody pushed me out of the way.
Is it safe for work and children, so to speak?
Yeah, it is. It is. So she's trying to bring like her experience to the virtual world, so you can, you know, you can buy some of her clothing, I guess, and stuff in there and do some experiences or whatever. But yeah, it's crazy. All right. Well, I guess we better sign off on this thing. You got to do your little plug.
My shameless
plug. Yeah.
So my name is Eric Buhrendorf, CEO of EVERNET Consulting. We're an IT company across all of America. We have clients in Seattle, Washington, Tennessee, Dallas, Texas, Tampa, Hartford. We're a Hartford, Connecticut-based company, and we are, like I said, we're a B2B business-to-business service provider. Then we manage and advise on all things technology, computer networks, so many cloud-based hosting solutions, data integration. We run a help desk 24/7. So basically anything technology related or business management related, we are an advisor and support system for business leaders. So find us at, you can find, you know, the best place to go, you know, hit any social channel. We're pretty regularly updating LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, but get started on our website, evernetco.com, www.evernetco.com.
All right, and this is a live show. This is really our first one that actually went through, so appreciate anybody that watched and sort of, I know we kind of had some audio issues earlier, but I guess they were corrected, so that's a good thing. But the regular schedule is Monday, 9:15, something along those lines. Yep. So put it on the calendar. It's appointment television, appointment radio, appointment podcast, right? So,
yeah, Mondays at 9 a.m. we do our recording if all goes as planned.